Good evening. Welcome back. Tonight is actually going to be another little bit of a smorgasbord video, fill in some gaps. And to start off with, I just wanted to mention this past weekend at the end of week 2 at CHPSA. And so it started Saturday morning. We got up. I had hyperbaric on a Saturday, which is uncommon, at noon. And Sandy and I, my sister and I, we didn't sleep well. And so we were kind of dragging a little bit. But we got out there. We were waiting for the car from CHPSA to come pick us up and take us to the hospital where they do the hyperbaric chamber. And nobody shows up. Time's going away. I'm trying to contact the clinic and the hospital, and I can't get a hold of anybody. So I look at Uber. I'm like, I'll just book my own Uber to the hospital, and the closest Uber is like 20 minutes away. They had to finish a trip before it could come get us for whatever reason. And usually there's no problem at all getting an Uber. It's like 3 minutes. So I went ahead and booked the Uber anyway. We get to the hospital. We're like 10 or 15 minutes late. They're like, oh, we were looking for you. I go back in there, and they've already started the chamber without me. So I'm just immediately frustrated, just by the whole situation, really. But talking to the individual that runs the chamber and everything, they worked out for me to go back so I could still get the treatment on Saturday, but I was going to have to go back at 6 p.m. And so we had been hoping to go to San Diego and visit our cousin, go to the beach with her in San Diego, and just now we weren't going to be able to do that. So since we're at the hospital and we have time, we walk down to the restaurant that prepares everything for the Gershon diet for the hospital. The way it worked the first weekend, I only got coffee for the enemas on Friday night, which is only enough for 3. So I'm supposed to do 3 a day. So I didn't have enough coffee to do the enemas for the entire weekend. So I talked to them. They're like, well, just go to the Watercress and they'll have it for you. And then we had a conversation about the hours too, because the hours that they were given and the hours that we were told when we went the prior weekend were not the same. So we got there. Again, it's only somebody that speaks Spanish, like no English. And they didn't have the coffee there for me. Nobody had given me an extra bucket for the coffee. And it just kind of became an ordeal. Finally, she just washed a bucket that she had in the shop and gave it to us, and we got my juices for the day from there while I was at it. But it was just very discouraging. And so we got an Uber back to the hotel, and I don't remember exactly the rest of the day, but it was not a great day. Nothing seemed to go our way all day. Sunday. So the very next day, we get up, and the first coffee enema is in the morning, like basically as soon as you wake up. And so just follow the normal routine, and we find out that the water in the hotel has been shut off. So we go down there, and apparently there's a marathon going on outside the hotel in Tijuana. Crazy busy, all kinds of TVs hooked up, and so don't know if they broke a circuit breaker so that the water tanks that they had filled weren't working or what, but they couldn't fix it. They weren't going to be able to fix it for several hours. And again, we had planned to go see our cousin in San Diego, and so now we couldn't take a shower, we couldn't do anything, and just again, it was just frustrating and a little discouraging. But we're talking to our cousin. She's like, just come up here early. You can take a shower at the house and stuff. So we went ahead, got the Uber, got packed, went up there. We're able to do all of that. met our cousin's daughter, and they took us to Disneyland. I've never been to Disneyland. I've been to Disney World, but we've never been to Disneyland. So it was the first time we went. It was good. And on the ride up, it's like a 2-hour drive from San Diego to Anaheim. I was just listening to my church's sermons for the week. So I go to Calvary Chapel of Columbia in Tennessee. But again, my spiritual father, Lyle, pastors Abundant Life Fellowship in Enosburg Falls, Vermont. And so I listened to both sermons. The first sermon I listened to was Calvary Chapel. It just came up on my Facebook. And in that sermon, he was using the book of Haggai and explaining the enemy using discouragement, to move us away from God's will. And just that morning, I had texted somebody and I was like, it's just been a rough weekend, and I know the enemy is just attacking us to counter what God is trying to do here. And so it was just validation hearing that in the sermon that day as well, just confirming what I was already thinking about the situation. And the pastor was just talking about that discouragement and just ironically referenced our story during the sermon, just this whole cancer journey for years, going through it, and the different points of discouragement along the way too. It's just like every October it seems like I get bad news, and it's discouraging, and just one of the things that you have to fight through in the roller coaster ride. And the second sermon by my father Lyle was about delayed prayer fulfillment, and he was referencing the story of Abraham and the son that God had promised that he would have with Sarah, and just like there was a 25-year gap between that promise and the fulfillment in the birth of Isaac. And after the sermon, he was telling some stories, and again he referenced me in that sermon as well, and again it was just further validation of this whole story in that one weekend. And so it was just very affirming, and just an answer to prayer from God, after going through all of this. And the whole process even here is just it wears on me. So it was just so relieving. And then we got to Disneyland and we just had a great time with everybody. It was just, it brought back memories of when I'd been to Disney World as a kid. For my sister, we were just reminiscing the whole time as we were going through it. I happen to be a little bit of a Star Wars geek, and so they just opened the Galaxy's Edge there. And so we got to do all of that, and it was just a great time to be with family. So, I just wanted to mention that because, it just, after listening to the sermons on the way there, I was like, I just want to make a video right now about how applicable this is, and how just God is touching in that very moment what exactly was going on. So that was just awesome. The other thing similar is I was talking to a friend over the week, and my sister had asked me a question, and I had answered it with Jeremiah 29:11. And this is one of the verses that I often go to on here, and I'm just going to read it real quick. For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. And that's just one of the verses I've kind of carried with me the whole story as well. I know that God knows what he has planned for me, and I believe that that's a future, and there's hope in that. And so I had shared that with my sister, and somebody texted me through the week and was like, the Lord put that exact same scripture on their heart to share with me. And so again, just another instance of God validating while we've been here in just a supernatural way, in my opinion. So I just wanted to share that with y'all so that you could see how he was moving while we were here. And then I just wanted to add a couple of other things to the story as we've been going along. In November, maybe the end of November, mid-November, I had mentioned just how much difficulty I was having with time passing and everything, and wanting to go on disability. And at some point in that treatment, I went to my employer and I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I can't focus, I can't concentrate, I can't do the things that I'm supposed to do the way that I feel like I'm supposed to do them. And so the human resource and my boss had a conversation, and basically they let me go to part-time hours, working a half day every single day, and they continued to pay me full-time while I was going through that. And that was probably for a month and a half or 2 months. And once we got into the new year, you know, I tried to add an hour back every week, you know, 4 and then 5 and then 6 and then 7, so that by the time we got to our audit, you know, I was working full time again. And then I have ever since then. But I don't know if I could have done this if they hadn't done that for me and just been that understanding. So I wanted to mention that. And then I wanted to mention some stories while we were at the hospital having surgery. So like I said, I was there for like 2 weeks because I had 2 surgeries a week apart. And my Aunt Gloria had come down before the surgery to watch the kids. And so my wife Diane at the time and my mother could both be at the hospital while I was going through the surgery. And then she was there for a few days, and my sister was then going to fly down and stay the rest of the trip. And then they were kind of going to rotate shifts. Like, I think my wife was going to try to be there in the morning, and my mother was going to try to stay at night, and then my sister was going to try to help with the kids during the day. But after like 2 days, everybody got sick except my sister because she was just flying in. So she had to stay with me 24/7 at the hospital for a week and a half or so. And the hospital rooms were not particularly comfortable. They only had like a semi-reclining chair. You couldn't keep the leg of the chairs up, so she had to like prop it up with a garbage can to try to sleep. And every night, wherever our room happened to be, they had helicopters landing on the hospital all the time. So just constantly had this noise in there. So it was brutal. And they constantly had to be taking my blood to check my levels, my liver function, things like that. And so they had to come in at like 3 o'clock in the morning and do that every single morning. And then again at like 6 o'clock. So I couldn't even get a good night's sleep because they'd come in and they were poking me, drawing blood, and it was really, really rough. And part of the recovery is doing laps around the wing of the hospital. And I remember my surgeon came in one day and he's like, I want you to do 30 laps today. And it wasn't always comfortable. After one of the surgeries, it wasn't bad. But after one of them, it was really painful. It was not a fun experience, and I dreaded it. And so it was like, when he told me 30, I was like, what the heck, you know? And as we were going around the laps, I noticed that they kept a scoreboard up where all the patients put down how many laps they did, and then that was it. 'Cause like I had to be at the top of the lap list, you know? So I'm just competitive by nature. So we started doing that, and then one day we used to go to a cafe downstairs and just get a little something, or just to walk to and change the scenery. And one day we went down and we just kept going. We like went outside, we walked outside at the hospital, we went into the children's hospital where they have like Taco Bell and Pizza Hut, and all the good restaurants are in the children's hospital. And so we went over there, and they have a Ben & Jerry's ice cream. We're from Vermont, so my sister had to have ice cream and everything. And then eventually we decided we walked back, and we were gone for a long time. And we got back to the wing of the hospital, and everybody's like, where have you been? We've been looking for you. And they're like, you can't just take off like that. And we're like, we didn't know. We just, went for a walk. And So like for the rest of the stay, we were like the escapees, or they were picking on us the whole time. Anytime we were out walking, like, where are you going? And it just ended up being a funny thing, but that was a lot of fun too. Was there anything else? No, I think that was pretty much it. I did actually want to say about CHPSA for last week. So I got blood work in today. Pretty much all of my blood work was good. My sodium was a little low. My protein was a little low, but I'm on a sodium and protein restricted diet as part of the Gershons right now. So that was kind of to be expected. But the two cancer markers that they're tracking, the CEA, which is the one I'm most familiar with, I'm not familiar with what the acronym is for the other one, but both of them were down today. So that's an encouraging sign. They weren't down a lot, but they were down a little bit. So I'll take that. And we'll have an ultrasound, more blood work this week. So updates on that as they happen. But the person actually that referred us to CHPSA, a friend of the family, Jennifer, she is actually here now. She got here this Sunday, and she's going to CHPSA for rheumatoid arthritis, which is just something that they're really branching out into. So we got to hang out today too. Just a lot of fun, great people. It was a blessing just to spend the evening and the day with them. So everything coming together. We'll start back up, pick up with the surgeries next time. But I just wanted to fill in these gaps and especially talk about just God moving in the last week and the way that He's spoken to us. So thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.